It's been such a long time. Hello, this is Trekker, and welcome back to From the Depths. I'm just going to escape on this, that way things don't just spawn in my face and get loud. So, it has been such a long time since I last played this game, hasn't it? How long has it been? Might even be years now. Basically, the devs did make a bunch of changes to this game during the time that I was making campaign, including ones that would have broken the campaign. And now, in this dev test build, they've actually updated the campaign and a lot of the other things, and I'm actually quite happy with a lot of these changes. So, my plan is to go and play through the campaign and hopefully beat every faction, although knowing me, I might struggle to do that just because it's me. But hopefully I can actually, complete this one. Regardless, my plan is to fight in the campaign, but due to the way the new AI works, I really can't fly by the seat of my pants build and effectively fight at the same time. So, I have new plans. And that is, I should be on the planet. Let me actually verify. As you see, I have an edited version of Near with a volume limit. This is actually slightly over the Megalodon size, at least at the time that I recorded it. It might have changed, who knows. I'm just going to make sure that is actually loaded. And we're just going to jump straight into the designer. Let's just start by building something. So basically, my first boat should be a boat. I want my first ship, and so I kind of want to make sure that I have something that will actually work effectively. You want something that can fight in a game about fighting naval vessels. So I'm just going to build my AI box as I normally do. It's kind of become quite standard. I may actually even save it as a blueprint, because this is like always what my core is. It's always like some kind of box that contains an AI. Since this is going to be super small, I'm not going to have a stone layer underneath. It should be fine though, because heavy armor, if I recall correctly, absorbs the MP. But yeah, basically this is going to be a PT boat style thing. Probably with a big gun. And its function is going to be to basically act as a general like combat vessel. Anyway, I don't intend on recording this whole thing in one cut. What I'm going to do is actually, I have like this set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording here, and I'm going to try to make sort of like a profile of its shape, just going forward and back, and with the AI kind of located somewhere between, like below deck. I'll like define spaces for me to have stuff, but I want to have an idea of the general shape of it and where weapons will be located before I fully commit to building. So I'll see you once I have that kind of stuff there. Okay, I spent some time. As you can see, I now have a cross section, and look at this thing. I actually don't know why I don't do this more often. Usually what I do is I just kind of sculpt it out organically, but now I feel like I'm much closer to the final result than I would have been otherwise. So I decided to go with a more sleek looking design, and I've decided we're going to have two main weapons. We're going to have one mounted in the front and one mounted in the rear of the craft. In case you're wondering, yeah, the one with the tail end is the rear, and this would be the front. I intend on using vectoring for the steering thrust, so odds are I'm going to have to redesign this tail. Just kind of do like that. And then essentially what I can do is that little lip will protect the spin block, which will be mounted down here, and it'll probably just have like a slope block somewhere originating from it, and it'll act as a rudder. allowing the thing to steer. Maybe I could do this. And I'm either going to use the base things, or there's actually a new thing. There are the small, medium, and large transmission blocks. The large one requires a 2x2 space and takes a lot of power, but it would allow me to do something like put a 7-meter propeller on a ship this size. Cool thing about this is also they changed something. If I take this large propeller circular, and yeah, it's a little disconnected, and I change its pitch angle, you can see it rotates. And so what I can do is ever so slightly adjust it. In fact, I might have accident. Just ever so slightly adjust it. So say I have like a thruster that's like way up here for some reason. That's going to push the nose down. So I take the pitch angle and I just kind of adjust it and eyeball it and adjust it. Basically, that's just going to allow me to use multiple thrusters, and even if they're offset, I can guarantee that the thrust goes through center of mass. However, due to the nature of adjusting this for center of mass, I have to actually build pretty much the entire craft. And so, yeah. So I have a fuel engine here. This might take me moving the turret back a block, which would be fine, honestly. I should be able to just show you a design that I've been using quite a lot that has been very effective for me, where I have turbochargers like this, carbureted turbochargers. It's a little convoluted. I have to like remember this off of the top of my head. If I hover over a carburetor, it shows this exhaust pressure used 6 out of 6, 4 out of 6, 0 out of 6, 0 out of 6. Okay, that's different. Go into a hole pipe, which I guess I'll locate here to allow me to just have hole pipes going all the way down. Am I getting exhaust? Huh. Huh. I really don't know what I'm doing. Well, I should have predicted that. Okay. Anyway, so that's different. So I used to be able to get pressure through all of these. But it appears I only get them through these first two, and that it actually doesn't matter past the first two. So the only thing I could think of that could possibly improve things is maybe having multiple cylinders. Like extra cylinders. Gotta be quick, otherwise it's going to burst itself. That caused me to jump. So those engines so that all overheated, and let's just turn this off. Those overheated, so I'm just gonna remove and replace them. So they start like this, and apparently they don't have enough cooling. Apparently this doesn't have enough cooling. What's going on with my cooling? It's not even connected, that's why. Okay. That might also be why I'm having trouble. Where is that? Oh. Yeah, that would do it. Alright. So I may have increased the power of the engine just a bit by adding these extra 2 cylinders. Should actually have everything capable of running all at once. So that's 6 of 6, 6 of 6, 0 of 6, 3 of 6. So we actually just don't need this. That should give me a little bit more efficiency. 588.9 instead of 586. Good, good. So that's my setup. This is going to be the engine powering this thing. It's a bit more powerful than I intended. That's fine, because I can find uses for that power. Anyway, I gotta rebuild a bunch of stuff now. I just wanted to step back in and say I rebuilt it and plotted out what the spin block setup will look like. It'll be something kind of like that. I realized I could actually route the exhaust between these cylinders in such a way that it frees up this center block, and as a result, I can have more radiators and thus a lot more efficiency. So as you can see, I have a slightly higher current power and a pretty significantly higher power per material. So odds are this thing is going to be even more effective than it was before. It's about time. Let's build our first turret. Then what we'll do is we'll copy that sub-object over to the back. And what I want is some sort of anti-vehicle weapon. So that's my one-axis turret placed down. Okay, so that's basically where the weapon's going to be. Let me get this out of the way. So essentially, two large, pretty heavy gauge weapons. This should be able to do most of what I want here. So they've added a few things. There are these gauge cooler 5-ways. Why wouldn't I use these for everything? They're actually really good because it means that I can essentially spam them and they'll interconnect with each other. This is ideal. This is like the most perfect cooling air system that I could ever hope for. In fact, with this system, I could just spam it like this. There's no way, this is also going to mean that I can prevent them from interacting with each other. Now, obviously, there might be use for the corner and the regular cooling splitter simply because they're limited. I'd be able to do stuff like have coolers that kind of go in between the turret, like the ends of the turret, but I'm just going to have all these cooling vents, and they're going to provide me lots of hard points for gauge increases. I'm going to put 2 here, and I'm going to do this. What's the gauge at? 293. I want a little more. 348. That's a gauge I want to go for. So that's basically it. We're going to go to advanced cannons, and I want to set up a shell. If I recall correctly, we have these 4 modules now. This is actually super useful because I can have 2 of these and then a 1 customizer. And let's just add in anything. I think I kind of want to do a squash head, but just high explosives. And then we'll change this into inertial views. 3-meter shell rack, immense amount of damage, as you can see over there. I'm happy. That's quite a lot of barrel cooldown, but I can actually cut that down quite a bit. Wait, have I even... So, I already see a problem. So as you can see, all these shells are taking a super long time to reload. I can solve this problem. All I need to do is find and define some place where I want to have my ammo stored. Okay, it's finally done reloading. So, I should actually be able to test this. Let's show you what this mammoth of a gun is like. Alright, just a little quick solution to that. So now I no longer have to worry. So I can clearly show you what's going to happen. Yeah, it's so wobbly. As you can see, it fires at the same rate. If I hold it down, firing at the same time, I get the maximum amount of recoil. Now, something that I found on accident when I was trying to record for this before is that if I go to this thing, there's a synchronization tab. What I did was, I did this. Never do this. What that means is that the turrets are going to forever wait for each other. And that is not good. So, which one do I want to fire first? I want the right cannon to fire first. So basically, when I synchronize it, one fires and then the other fires. So basically, this cannon, if I set this other cannon to synchronize, will fire first. And then I just connect this to this APS firing piece. So what this will be is basically, it will fire after a delay of 1 second. If for some reason it can't fire, it'll try to fire anyway if it's within 3 seconds, but it has a maximum waiting time of 6 seconds. So if it's blocked from firing for 6 whole seconds, then it fires. This should allow me to do something more like this. Wait. Excuse me. Oh, there we go. It must have had to fire at least once. But as you can see now, fires one after the other. This helps manage the recoil a bit, and it just looks cool. And it makes me feel like this thing is just a mammoth tank, which makes me happy. Now I'm probably going to armor this up and then put it on the other side. Then I'll probably work on the hull, and I'll bring you back for any important decisions for that as well, but I feel like I'm quite happy with where this is at right now. As you can see, I have done a lot. There's still lots of extra stuff for me to do, but it's floating now. Sort of floating. I saved this entire open spot so that we could complete this hole together. Look at this thing. The full-blown ship. Of course, I'm using up props because I know like it's kind of a lot of people have reservations with these kinds of up props, but I honestly don't mind because it just makes the engine a very important weak point. I have like the main weapon, have my secondary torpedo system. I do not have my anti-fighter countermeasures yet. I did put in my thrust. As you can see back here, I have, let's just switch to the metal block. I have a bunch of thrusters. They're all slightly angled in order to ensure that they go through center of mass. Well, they're symmetrical side to side, but like, obviously this top propeller and this bottom propeller angle slightly so that they're not just imparting torque unnecessarily. And I have this propeller. This one's angled because it's mounted a bit lower. This is actually the main motor, and if I press, I think it's K to turn right and H to turn left, the motor turns. So sort of like a motorboat, this thing has steering capabilities, and it's actually pretty cool. Let's just set this off, get to our max speed. It's actually nice and smooth, so I will actually easily reach that. Oh, I hit like 25 for a moment there. Cool thing is that if I turn, I can turn very tightly. Like, that's a really tight turning circle for what it is. And I'm still getting like pretty much all of my speed. Like, I'm still keeping all of my speed because I don't have to turn off any thrusters in order to get the steering. The only issue is that it kind of causes the ship to tilt a little. That's fine. Let's just turn that off. Of course, this will cause issues backing out, but what I can do is just set the turning circle to be relatively wide and then have the ship actually avoid reverse, and that should solve that. One thing I've also learned, so these coincidence rangefinders actually have really good bearing accuracy, like amazing bearing accuracy compared to everything else. So they're actually really good. They're just good all around. And combining them with laser rangefinders makes it deadly accurate. However, the guns themselves aren't. I'm going to have to upgrade those. Also, I added a seat here, so if I want to spawn on it, I actually spawn on it, which should make it easier to record with this thing. And I have basically fire control computer, vehicle controller right in the bridge area. and then this physical connector is just going to go up and lead into extra sensors and stuff, which would allow me to actually acquire targets. As you can see, I have all my stuff selected because I want to actually be able to aim these. I want my weapon systems to be open because I want to start a live fire test. So what's the accuracy looking at? 25 degrees? And then they desync. And I'm only firing one of my cannons now. And that's the primary one. Ugh. I need to see what it is that I did that caused this. And oh, I see it. Oh, I see it. I made a big derpy doo-doo. I need to actually zoom in. Oh, that's a little bit of armor I'm cutting into. Ugh. Also, I've noticed. So it shows this, like 600 materials per minute, but I have like basically another 1,000 on top of that. So I want to use that 1,000. Alright, I'm back. And I decided to do a little bit of experimentation. Well, not experimentation, but I had recorded all this and edited it down and then realized I neglect to even mention the missiles. So here they are. They're fragmentation interceptor missiles for dealing with small aircraft and ships in general, as well as just exploiting the fluffy insides of any ships that get opened up by the main cannons. Basically, these things will shoot up into the air, turn over to the side, and then shoot off. And you can see it here. This gives it very good close range capabilities. That's basically all I have to say about them. They have like a range of like 2 clicks, which is kind of surprising to me. And yeah, back to the video, I guess. As you can see, I have built this up. Actually, maybe this should be heavy armor. Honestly, it doesn't matter. If this thing goes, if like my little fog of war scanner goes down, then that's fine. I want to test something though, because I noticed that there is an actual option for the aim point that you unlock through these. So I'm trying to see, does this happen with the LiDAR? Yes, it does. If I set it to target clusters of blocks, ooh, then that should make the turrets actually a lot more accurate because it'll be blocks that are interconnected through each other. Alright. I guess I should also do a radar 360 as well, because that's active detection. So having a visual camera and active radar combo should actually allow that, but I may decide to also have a detection system mounted above somehow, and I can use these metal plates to cover this entire thing up without it obscuring it too much. And I'll just remove this. I haven't even touched the torpedoes like I said I would, but basically I just needed like some sort of like superstructure mounted on this thing. So that's the superstructure. That way I have detection, has much stronger armor in the front than the back, and it comes equipped with a chair, which you can see back there, so that I can actually teleport with it and be able to control it. Although the chair is kind of facing backwards, but that's just the direction I'll be when I teleport to it. And then I guess I'll just do this change on camera. So ballast tanks, let's just change this to 0.05 and copy this. Let's do a marauder, because it's a basic baby, easy thing. It's just tanky enough too. Oh yes, torpedoes are pretty low down. Oh, I'm like attached to the ship, that's why I'm getting recoil. Maybe the torpedoes are not, honestly, torpedoes aren't effective enough. Okay, take 2. This time they're super negatively buoyant. Oh, they're a lot lower in the water now. And they're hitting the underside. This is exactly what I want. So that it like disables the ship by hitting the underside. I should be setting the constraints of these turrets too, so that they don't hit the thing. There's actually a trick to this one. So if I need to reduce that to 0.1 so that it doesn't like mess up. If I turn the idle azimuth, I can see how far it can rotate in a direction. Seems it cannot go beyond. Okay, let's say 150 degrees. So extra constraints. Now I know it's negative 150 and positive 150. And that is its limits. So that's 150 as well. Alright. So we'll just do this again, but we have to actually flip this and then do 150, I think. Alright, so that's actually 30 and 30. And negative 30. And it's actually got to be flipped. There we go. Then we just set this back to 0. So that should take care of firing constraints. So this thing should multi-target now. Now I guess I'm not going to do this on camera because that would be a little daft. I'm going to go and maybe paint this thing off camera. Maybe even work out my fleet colors. I'm back. And I tried something new for a paint scheme. Honestly, I don't know. Because I could just, you know, load the prototype. So I could do something like that and have like naval camo. Honestly, I'm just gonna go without camo because I think that looks a little more clean. Okay, so this is what I have to work with. I actually do want to make one more change before I do the actual recording of combat. I want to up this to 85 so that it's always more or less presenting a full broadside, so that it has its guns trained on its target a lot more often than it doesn't. Let's actually just straight up delete everything, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn in deep water guard ships, specifically ones that have given me a little bit of trouble. But let's start with something easy that I've seen before. Now, this says it's godly, but this thing, really, I could spawn 2 of these in, just to make it more fair. Let's load in an Asunder, and let's spawn this in. I think Steel Strider's colors looks good with it. And honestly, it's pretty close, it's just the... yeah. And it just looks like a super futuristic version of Steel Strider ship, honestly. So already off the bat, we are dealing quite a bit of damage with missiles and cannons. And we're hitting our broadside early, but we're having a little bit of... we're already within minimum range, so... Whoa, lucky shot there. So that's a thing with these rapiers, is that their cannons do have some penetration, so... But even with this disadvantage, we're still dishing out more damage than we're taking here. We already took out an entire ship just like that. And one lucky hit with the torpedoes, and the AI is dead. Well, that could have gone better, but it also could have gone much worse. 87 health left. Yeah, that might need to be addressed at some point, but for now, I'm just going to accept it for what it is. Flying Squirrel. So I'm going to spawn this in after because they almost always spawn in right on top of me. I'm just going to spawn this in. There we go. And usually they come in like small fleets, but I'm just going to say like one by one, but I heard that they're going to fix that, or maybe they already have. I'm going to put 3 of them, just because that'll be more interesting to watch. Unless they all manage to dodge the missiles perfectly. Which it actually does not look like that's happening this time. Oh yeah. My missiles are quickly overwhelming their evasiveness. They are really, really maneuverable missiles. But they work best when they're on an intercept like this. I was saying, they work best on an intercept, and they didn't do the thing. Well, you're going to have to trust me on that. I've noticed that if the... Oh, one landed. Okay, good. If this flying squirrel's approaching and the missiles are trying to intercept it, they have a somewhat higher chance to actually hit this flying squirrel. Like that. I've noticed that if it's flying away, it's a little harder because I guess the difference in speed is a bit different and the flying squirrel has more time to dodge out of the way. How bad was that? Looks like the sensor array, the sensor superstructure, got a little damaged, but it seems like that's the only thing that took damage, and functionally this thing should actually be okay for another fight. Ah. That's unsatisfying. Couldn't even fire off its second shot from the rear cannon. It was trying to come in close. Come on. Get another set of shots. Or is it just too high? That felt like that might have dealt some significant damage. Firing off our missiles. Damage doesn't look too severe. Oh, but we got a broadside on it, so it doesn't matter. Oh no. Oh, they hit the tower. Of course they hit the tower. That's fine. Looks like we dealt some significant damage though because it's losing altitude all at once. Oh, and it's losing attitude control. This happens with the Moray, I noticed. It takes a hit somewhere critical and then it can't balance and then it falls backwards into the water and then it's vulnerable to our torpedoes, which finish the job. It does appear that it managed to take out a turret and it was the front main cannon. We still have all our missiles though. I think we do. Oh, that felt like... Oh yeah, that totally took it out. Well, I would say, despite the difference in volume there, we won that one handily. Oh, that immediately took out the main cannon. Oh, no, it didn't. When I had two of them, it would overwhelm the defenses and actually manage to do some serious damage. And I think it was because it doesn't multi-target, so while it's focusing on one, the other one is just free to deal damage. But this one appears to be changing its priorities effectively. I don't know. But it looks like we immediately downed it, so that was lucky. So we should be getting torpedoes. There are torpedoes, but they're not turning to face the target, which tells me that torpedo systems must have been taken out on the first ship. It's also moving a lot slower, which tells me its engine might be damaged. This thing, though, can't fly anymore, so now we just gotta hope that it takes out the guns. Actually, why don't we have it aim for turrets? I want an aim for weapons option. Because those are visible on the outside, aren't they? So I'm using cluster blocks targeting. But why aren't we using... I don't know. We actually have the upper hand here. I didn't think that we did, but between torpedoes, missiles, and just the snipers of cannons that we have here, We might actually just straight up win. Okay, I think this is going to do it. All it's going to take is a few more blocks, and it should just drop off of the map. There we go. How much damage was that? 82, 82. And both ships lost a main cannon and pretty much their entire engines. They lost both of their cannons and all of their engines. As you can see, that's only 146 power, and this one only has 28, and I do not know how it's able to float, but I'm guessing all it's really doing is trying to balance. 27. I guess it's getting a little hot. But as you can see, it's just trying very carefully to try to keep itself balanced and upright, but it can't quite do it. Let's start for the treader. That was my very first design. I was doing like a fly-by-wire thing, which I learned wasn't a good idea. The end result was kind of garbage, but it did at least have decent missiles, and that's probably its only saving grace. You'll be Deepwater Guard. You're a treader. So this thing has quite a few medium missiles, which are actually quite powerful, and I've seen them deal significant damage in a fight. But it seems like they're getting taken out. They might already be. It seems like the main cannon's not even aiming, so we must have done something to disable it. That's good news. And we took out its radar. Oh, finally it's firing. Sounds like a little pew-pew. I want to see. Just how is that damage being dealt? Also, I love that launch sequence. It's just perfect. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be doing that much damage, because everything's hitting like the superstructure or the middle where the armor belt's kind of thickest. The turrets that I'd be most worried about, since they're actually somewhat vulnerable by comparison to every other part of the ship. Both of these designs do have one repair bot. I just want to point that out because one repair bot is my limit for this campaign. Anyway. Yep, it's still firing missiles, so this battle is not over yet. Even if the main cannon's down. Let's see where we're getting though. Oh, we took out the engine. So this was another thing. It only had one layer of armor, and that was just the deck armor. So yeah. Oh, we got the AI. Must have got a well-placed HESH shot. Because that... Oh, it's already despawned. I wanted to actually look at the AI. Must have managed to get some frags inside of the AI box, which is pretty impressive. And look at that, we didn't even take that much damage. The first time I did that, it actually put up a good fight. Say hello to the Pulsar. It is a pack version of essentially what we just built, but it's a lot smaller, has a little bit less volume. Its cost is still around 60k, so I think it's pretty much equivalent to what I made. Remember old campaign? I had like near like Scarlet Dawn adjacent colors. Let's use that. Yeah, that looks a lot more like stuff that I had. So there are pack cannons. They're set to impact, so they're not going to be particularly effective. I don't know why I used impact, honestly. Oh, there goes the extra trackers, but that's fine. They're just supplemental anyway. And it is getting hit, and it is losing a few blocks each time, and it's getting hit by missiles with EMP, but we have surge protection. So I don't think we're going to lose weapons anytime soon. Oh, I just noticed something. So Hesh is way better than it looks, because it is penetrating the armor, even if it's just a little bit. Oh, it looks like it's still able to move. It must have been able to repair the damage to its engine. Oh, right. Pulsars have a second engine underneath, and it's not supposed to be running by itself without cooling like it is right now. Yeah, let's just watch this from their perspective. The Asunder class is ripping its enemies asunder. Just look at that. Oh, there goes the engine. If it wasn't destroyed before, it is now. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we know who wins this fight, so let's not bore you anymore with this. Oh, look at that. Yeah, this went exactly as I thought it would. Like, it has no power generation, no engines, so it's dealing no damage. And let's just take a look at the ship, the Asunder class. How did it fare? Wow, surprisingly, well, that's probably partly due to the repair bot. I mean, all those craft have one repair bot just because tiny bits of chip damage and a little bit of repair out in the field is nice. Let's pause the game. Looks like we took a bit of armor damage, but it's only armor damage. We didn't actually take any functional parts damage at all during that battle, aside from this mast, which does tend to get sniped, I'm noticing. But again, that's mostly for out-of-combat bonuses and maybe a, oh, you haven't touched me yet, I'm going to provide better detections for my team kind of thing. Wow, just look at, like, this side of the ship is like pockmarked with like blasts, like scorch marks and everything. Like, that is just like that looks worse than it actually is, though, because it has like layers and layers and layers of armor directly underneath. Just look at that. Turrets hardly even took any damage. Like, this one definitely got shot at, but it was like, that's definitely like during when the, like, that has to be from when the enemy ship was like damaged already, because like this thing, it's like it didn't even lose any of its noticeable features. Well, I think that this is what I'm going to be spawning in the campaign. I did do a little bit of a test with the campaign just to see if I'd be able to afford it, and the answer is no, but actually yes. The campaign will start me out with 30k resources from the bat, and that's not counting the stuff that I can immediately get out of the thing, like out of the water. And this thing can be built over time, and this can all happen before the Deepwater Guard actually attacks. So I can get at least 1 or 2 of these before fighting the Deepwater Guard. That would be ideal. So now that I have finished this thing, look at it in its beautiful glory. We're going to be taking this ship and conquering Neater with it. At least maybe half of the Deepwater Guard. I may as well go with the classic start. So I'll see you then.